I'd like to start firstly by doing a quick recap of the 10 stages of the soul while people are logging in. And this was a chapter that I wrote when I was in 1995, when I was writing my first book. And in this chapter, I'm walking down an old Arabian street with cobblestones. And then I come to an old facade of a building, and there's a door. And the door has cobwebs on it, so it's clear to me that no one has gone through it for a long time. And something makes me push this door. And as I look in, there's just darkness. And my first reaction is to turn around and run. But something pushes me, and I get onto the first step of a staircase. And as soon as I step on the first step, I hear the sounds from the side of the walls, very clear, very distinct, coming at me like as if I'm in a marketplace. People, animals, noise, shouting, chaos, all that around me. And I'm thinking to myself, where am I, and who are these people, and what is this that I cannot see? And I look ahead of me, and it's just a staircase and then darkness. So I take one step above, and the marketplace goes silent. Second step, silent. When I take the third step, I reach the second stage. And here I hear from the side of the walls water dripping in a bucket with complete precision, complete regularity. And again, I'm thinking to myself, where is this pail? Where is this bucket? Where is this water? It's so loud, so clear. And then I climb 3 more steps, and I now hear the sounds of a big grandfather clock, as if I'm in the clock. And it's ticking away with precision, absolute precision. And then I take 3 more steps, and I come to the 4th stage. And here I hear children in the playground, laughing, playing, happy, innocence. It's beautiful. I wish I could see these children. But all I hear is a sound. And then I climb 3 more steps, and now I hear the sounds of a waterfall, a huge waterfall. And I'm in the middle of this waterfall. It's as if it's coming right over me, right through me, very powerful. And then I climb 3 more steps to the 6th stage. And here I hear the sounds of monks chanting in a temple. Beautiful sound, very soft, very gentle, very soothing. And then I climb 3 more steps to the 7th stage. And here I hear the sounds of the ocean, water, crashing onto the beach, on a white sand beach. It's so beautiful, I can only visualize this. All I'm hearing is the sounds, but there's breeze rustling through the palm trees. It's so soothing, it's so tranquil, it's something that makes you just want to stay there and go no forward. Now, all the way as I'm climbing, being the scientist that I am, I'm always counting the steps. And there's always 66 steps and then a wall of darkness. So it doesn't matter how much I climb, there's always 66 steps. Now I look ahead of me, and then again I see further steps, and I think, I'm going to climb further. So I take 3 more steps, and I reach the 8th stage, which is the stage of the orchestra, where I hear music of the finest, finest nature, perfection, total harmony. I've never heard this kind of music in this world. This orchestra is playing with complete harmony. Then I climb 3 more steps, and now I still hear the orchestra. So from 1 to 7, the steps are distinct, but from 7 onwards, they're not distinct, they flow into each other. Now I hear the orchestra in the background, but I hear the sounds of the ocean as if I'm at the bottom of the ocean. There's a gentle vibration, whirring sound at the bottom of this massive body of water, infinite body of water. And then I climbed 3 more steps, and now I hear the orchestra, I hear the ocean, but now I also hear dolphins, and they are singing away in the ocean. And when I look in front of me now, there's still 66 steps, but at the end of the 66 steps, there's a door that's slightly open. Behind the door is a light. Now, normally you would expect that if you have a dark staircase and you open a door of light, that light will fill the staircase. This one doesn't, it just stays there. And then in the book I write about hearing this voice, I call it the voice of thunder, very, very powerful, makes me feel this small, totally humbling. And the voice says that you have climbed up to the 10th stage. Tell us what these stages mean. And I'm worried because I don't know. And I say, oh, voice of thunder, I don't know. And the voice says, yes, you do know, because you couldn't have come this far without knowing. Tell us what it is. Second time, I said, oh, voice of thunder, I don't know. And I'm getting quite worried, because there's something I should be knowing. And then the third time I am asked, but now a veil lifts before my eyes, lifts before my mind, everything is completely clear. And now I know everything, the entire journey, and with complete clarity. And I said, when I entered this building, I came from a world which is the marketplace, with thousands of events occurring, chaos, noise, people, animals, just, full of activity. That was the marketplace at the first stage. That is the world I have come from. And then I ascended to the second stage, where I hear the water dripping into a bucket with precision. So my focus has gone from hundreds of events or thousands of events down to one singular event, which is the dripping of the tap. And then I'm asked, why water? And I said, water is the essence of life. And so now my focus has narrowed down to the pure essence of life. And they say, yes, you're right. I said, then when I get to the third stage, I hear the grandfather clock ticking. So I'm still at singular focus, because the grandfather clock is ticking with singular focus. But I cannot see the time that it represents. The second stage, I can visualize the bucket and the water. The third stage, I cannot visualize the time. So I have gone from the seen to the unseen. And then when I reach the fourth stage, and I hear the sound of children playing in the playground, for me it's a new chapter in the journey of my soul, a new birth, a new innocence, a new karma. And that is depicted by the children playing in the playfield, and I'm extremely happy, and I'm one of them. I'm pure innocence. And this is where I also, when the droplet at stage 2, I'm now the baby river at stage 4. It's my new beginning. And then I reach stage 5, and my river has grown. By others merging into it, it's just continued to grow. And now I'm in the midst of this very powerful waterfall. And when water flows down a waterfall and through a river, it's always very pure. So I'm now in the midst of abundance of purity. I'm in the midst of essence of life. And then I climb 3 more steps, and now I'm in the temple. And I hear the monks chanting. So this is the first time that I'm hearing the sound of my inner voice. The temple is my body. The chanting of the monks is my inner voice that I'm hearing for the very first time with this clarity. And then I reach stage 7, which is water, the sea coming onto it, ocean coming to the beach, to the shore, the palm trees, the blue sky, the sunshine, the rustling palms, very, very peaceful. This is the stage of paradise. And this is where it's so soothing that I just want to rest and move no forward. So the voice says, "You are right." And I said, then I proceed from the 7th stage of paradise and I come to the stage of the orchestra. And this stage, the music is absolute perfection, absolute harmony. There's complete absence of conflict. This is a stage of zero conflict. This is a stage of complete harmony. And the voice says, lots make it from stages 1 to 7, but very few make it past 8, 9, and 10. And I said, yes, because conflict is something that the human mind cannot even comprehend, absence of conflict. We are all filled with conflict. How do we cross that? And then I said, I climbed 3 more steps after I've crossed the stage of the orchestra, and now I'm at the bottom of the ocean. So I started as the droplet in stage 2. I became a river in stage 4. I became the waterfall in stage 5. And now here I am. I am the river that is merging into the ocean, and now I have become the ocean itself. I am now totality. In the 6th stage, there was the temple, so I had a body and an inner voice. In totality, I no longer have a body. I'm there. I'm just a being in totality. And then finally, I hear the sound of the dolphins. And in the 6th stage, the monks were chanting in the temple. At the 10th stage, the dolphins are the monks of the ocean. They are the monks of totality. And so that is where I am now. So the voice says, why is it that stages 1 to 7 are distinct, but 8, 9, and 10 are merged? And I said, because when I start the 8th stage, I, the river, am beginning to merge into the ocean. And there is a distance that I have to travel where I cannot merge into the ocean yet. So the river water is still sweet, the salt water is still salty as I'm trying hard to merge into the ocean. And by the time I get past the 8th stage and get to the 9th stage, I have merged into the ocean, I have become totality. And so because it's an ongoing continuous process, the orchestra is playing and I hear the sound of the ocean and I hear the sounds of the dolphins. And then I'm told, you may now ascend the staircase. So I climb up the 66 steps and I step into the door of light. And the last words I hear are, you are no longer you. That is your fulfillment. So that is the 10 stages of the soul. Now, this is a metaphorical journey, but each stage has very powerful messages for us. Today we are going to do stage 8. In the last masterclass, we covered stage 7, the stage of paradise, which is a landmark achievement for any soul. Stage 7, as I said, is symbolized by the metaphor of the white sandy beach, the blue sky under a bright sunshine, the palm trees, gentle breeze. Each of these symbols carry a very deep meaning. And you can all refresh yourselves by viewing the video on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, or on the website, and catch up with all the symbols of stage 7. So now, having passed stage 7 and now we're talking about stage 8, let us consider for a moment the metaphorical journey of the water through its first 7 stages, the essence of life. In stage 2, it starts its journey as the essence of life in the form of a droplet. In stage 4, this droplet becomes a baby river and it begins to grow and flow. By stage 5, it is endowed with abundance of purity as it flows over its waterfall. At stage 6, which is the monks chanting in the temple where the soul attains enlightenment, this river continues to grow and flow into stage 7, which is paradise. At paradise, the river is right in front of the ocean. The river knows the ocean because it's enlightened. but it has not begun to flow into the ocean. It has not begun to merge into this ocean. So souls at this stage have seen the light, which is depicted by the ocean infinite, but they have not ventured to merge into the light. Most souls are content with the achievement of paradise, and they choose not to proceed any further. It's a huge accomplishment. But there are those that seek to achieve union and dissolution into the light of the Creator. They venture into stage 8, the stage of the orchestra, where every instrument plays in complete harmony to produce the finest music in the universe. At stage 8, the river begins to merge into the ocean. It is a stage that requires immense courage and dedication because it is not an easy journey. Achieving complete harmony and zero conflict is a goal that transcends human capacity and imagination. How do you do it? But there are courageous souls, the likes of Mansur al-Halaj and others, who have ventured through stages 8, 9, and 10 and succeeded in crossing that door of light at stage 10. So here we are today at stage 8. In this stage, as I said earlier, there is an orchestra which plays music of complete harmony. Every instrument and element of this orchestra is in complete sync with each other. So today we will learn more about the orchestra and what it takes for a soul to achieve zero conflict or total harmony. And we'll cover that in the series of stage 8. Now let us explore the 7 key symbols of the orchestra. There is the stage or platform on which the orchestra performs. That's the first one. Secondly, there are instruments of the orchestra. Next, there are the musicians playing the instruments in the orchestra. Then there is the audience. Then there is the script of music that is followed by all the musicians. Then there is the music itself. And finally, there is the conductor. So these are the 7 symbols of the orchestra. And in addition to the symbols of these symbols of the orchestra, there is another core spiritual aspect of stage 8, which is that the river that is beginning to merge into the ocean. This is a core spiritual aspect of stage 8. The symbols to consider here include water, the essence of life. Think of the soul like you think of water. Next is the river that has come this far to the ocean shore. It can see the ocean now. What has it attained along its journey? What has the soul attained thus far? Then there is the infinite ocean, the source of the droplet and the river. What happens when the soul comes to, in inverted commas, know the ocean? When it's enlightened, it knows the ocean. What does it go through as it merges into the ocean? How does that journey unfold? Because there is a barrier that separates the river from the ocean. And as it tries to merge, the scriptures talk about it as well. The scriptures talk about how the river enters the ocean and flows for a distance in the ocean. Where there is water of the river remains sweet, and the water of the ocean remains salty. They do not merge because there is a barrier. And the scriptures talk about this barrier that separates the river from the ocean. And that when this barrier is overcome, the river finally merges into the ocean. The question to consider is, what is this barrier? And how can this barrier be overcome? What can we do to help our soul cross this barrier? Because we can. Now, there are some very deep and fascinating mystical aspects associated with the merging of the river into the ocean. It's a very deep mystical process. And we will dedicate an entire masterclass of stage 8 to this subject because there's so much to cover. Today we may not be able to cover all the facets of stage 8 because each one of them deserves deep and concentrated contemplation. So the lessons of stage 8 are most valuable. So let us take our time with them, and I propose to cover this stage in multiple parts. Firstly, we will take a deeper look at the orchestra itself. Next, we will learn practical ways of approaching complete harmony or zero conflict in our lives. And this will take up an entire class. And finally, we will venture deep into the mystical journey of the river as it flows within the ocean until it finally merges. This is where we will explore questions like, what is enlightenment? How does the soul gain this experience? What does the mind realize at this point? How is enlightenment different to complete union with the Creator? Because they are different. These mystical aspects will all unfold before us as we learn about how the river merges into the ocean. It is a very powerful process. And at stage 8 is where it all begins. So to help us today, our friendly angels Cyrus and Luminous are going to take us on a journey through stage 8, starting from the stage or the platform on which the orchestra performs, and then into the orchestra itself, where we can examine each one of its elements. So right now we are in the theater with Cyrus and Luminous, and the orchestra is before us on the stage. Take a moment and visualize this. A beautiful theater, a stage, on the stage, an orchestra. Take a moment and visualize it. So Cyrus starts by saying, stage 8 is reached by souls that decide to leave the comforts of paradise and venture towards achieving union with their Creator. It is probably the most highly commendable decision a soul will ever make in its journey. So let us start by learning about the symbols of the orchestra first, and there are 7 of them. The first one is the stage or platform. And Cyrus says, look at the stage. What do you see? I replied, I see an elevated space at the front of the theater from where the audience can view the orchestra. Why is it elevated? I asked Cyrus. He replies, the stage is the platform upon which the orchestra stands and performs. It is the foundation of everything that the orchestra entails, from the instruments to the musicians, their scripts, the audience, the music, and the conductor. It is the foundation of everything. All of them stand on this stage or platform because it is their foundation. So the stage is in essence a foundation that the soul has built throughout its journey from stages 1 to 7. It is the foundation of experience, knowledge, and light. As we have discussed before, the soul is like the ray of the sun. And you can tell the ray of the sun apart from its source because it does not shine as brightly as its source. But during its journey, it gains knowledge, it gains light, and it shines brighter and brighter until you reach a point when it has the same brightness as its source. You cannot tell them apart, and that is where the soul reaches stage 10 and crosses the door of light and becomes one with the Creator. So the soul starts in stage 1 with a light of lower intensity, just like the ray of the sun does. Now, what is this light? I asked. How did the soul derive it in the first place? Luminous replied, the soul is life, and life emanates from the Creator. So the soul is life, life emanates from the Creator. Life force is light, which projects itself through the soul. So life force is light, which projects itself through the soul. This makes the soul very powerful because it bears the light of the Creator. And then it journeys from stage to stage. And like the light parable of light says, from light upon light, gaining knowledge from all its experiences. As we all know, the origin is light, light brings life, life brings experience, experience brings knowledge, and knowledge is light. And that is the full circle. That is what we achieve in our world, where we go out, we meet people, we experience events, these experiences convert to knowledge, knowledge is light. We are gaining knowledge and light every moment while we are here in this world. And souls that have reached stage 7 have built that platform of knowledge and light, and they are now venturing through stage 8. And they have built a very solid foundation of knowledge and light along their journey. So no matter what stage you may be at, Cyrus says, pursue every opportunity to gain knowledge with a conscious awareness of everything around you. Learn from your experiences and let them grow into wisdom and light. Do not miss a single opportunity to gain knowledge, he says. A great soul once said in the 1940s that even if you have to go to China to seek knowledge, do it. And in those days, China to the world was like what Mars is for us today. But he said, even if you have to go there, go in search of knowledge. So be open to new experiences. Have no fear. Experience all you can, for this is your opportunity. Each one of you is a soul endowed with great powers. But under the veil of your mind, you do not realize the magnificent being that you are, and how important it is for you to grow from light upon light, Cyrus says. Every bit of knowledge you gain becomes your stage, your foundation. Remember, when you get to stage 8, every single one of your experiences from stages 1 to 7 will be there present within your stage. Every single experience, which will be your stage on which your orchestra will play. So experiences, knowledge don't go away, they collect and they become the stage. So I said to Cyrus, the stage is elevated as it stands above the audience. Why is it so? What does it mean? Cyrus replied, the elevated stage signifies that at stage 8, all those souls that have gotten there, they embody a much higher knowledge than their fellow beings. Elevation of the stage places the orchestra above the audience, making it a focal point for the audience. As a performer on the stage, you are impacting the audience, and the audience is impacting you. As a performer in an orchestra, you have to know every sound of every single instrument. If you are looking to create absolute pure harmony, you have to know the sound of every single instrument, whilst at the same time engage fully with the audience. You have to be following also the script of the music and the motions of the conductor. So to do this, you have to be fully attentive and focused upon everything before you, everything in front of you, fully attentive and focused. Therefore, beings of stage 8, he said, they have no self-center. They are not self-centered at all. Unlike most of the world today, which is filled with self-centered people who cannot see beyond themselves, it's all about me, 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 me. Self-centered people can only see very limited part of what life is showing them. It's showing them everything, but they're so engrossed in themselves, they cannot see it. They miss out on the richness of what others bring because they don't see others, they don't hear others, or don't listen. They miss out on what nature brings, what life brings. Therefore, he says, each one of you should strive to constantly drop your self-center. Step out of it completely, Cyrus says. Listen to what others have to say. Observe what they have to show you. Learn from them. Observe nature, he says, and hear its voice, and embrace all its colors. Let it enrich you. The less self-centered you are, the happier and more enriched you will be. You will become richer in knowledge and light. Your stage will be strong and significant to your audience. If you are self-centered, you are like the peacock that opened its feathers in the forest, revealing the most spectacular sight ever. But guess what? There was no one present to see it. So, no matter what level you are at, Cyrus says, stepping out of your self-center will lead you higher and bring you to stage 8 with strength and surety. So even if you're at stage 2, 3, 4, step out of your self-center and watch yourself ascend much faster. Luminous added universal lesson number 1. Whether you're at the marketplace or at paradise, consciously remember to step out of yourself and let it go. Give up me, and embrace a single us. Remember, your stage is a foundation of knowledge and light. It is a foundation of freedom from the self-center. It is a foundation that embraces life. It embraces the audience. It stands tall with immense dignity. And there's one more aspect to observe, he says. He says, while the stage is elevated, because that's what I picked on, why is it high? He said, while the stage is elevated, it is not seen. The orchestra is what is seen. So the stage is also a foundation of humility. It's so powerful. It's the actual base. It's everything about the knowledge you've built so far. But it's humble. Eyes are on the orchestra, not on the stage. Luminous added, now let us climb up the stage and go to the instruments of the orchestra. Luminous continued, he said, the orchestra is a combination of many instruments, each one playing an important part in creating music. So I asked, what do the instruments represent? What are they? Luminous replied, they are your thoughts and emotions, which drive your words and actions. So the instruments are your thoughts and emotions, which drive your words and actions. He said each instrument is powerful on its own, but in the orchestra, it must play in unison with all the others. For an instrument expressing its own power above the rest makes it stand out and break away from the harmony of the orchestra. So unison of all instruments is essential. So he said, let us look at thought first. In the material world, he says each one of you is life with a consciousness. Life being the grand sphere that is infinite, and consciousness being limited to the material mind and all its perceptions. We did an insight on should life have a purpose in our last Sharing Hope, and I do recommend you listen to it or view it, because there we talk a great deal about the grand sphere and the material self. So this will add more value to what we're going to talk about in stage 8. So Luminous says, it is consciousness that provides you with the human experience. And consciousness is a product of thought. Thought has life, and each time you think, you emit living seeds of thought that germinate in the hearts and minds and lives of people near and far. Once the thought germinates, it creates reactions in others that flow out like ripples, which ultimately come back to you. So your thought has its journey. Thought drives events, and events drive experiences. So thought is a very powerful engine that drives your entire human experience in this world. Those are your instruments. Each one of you is defined by the quality of your thoughts, Luminous says. You are perceived by your audience based on the quality of the thoughts you emit. Because thought drives action, which impacts everyone and their perceptions of you. Thought also drives experience. So thought is the most important gift each one of you possesses. Your thoughts have the powers to create or destroy. They have the powers to bring happiness or sadness, create unity or harmony, disruption and chaos. Each of the instruments of your orchestra projects a nature of your thoughts. Each instrument projects a nature of your thoughts. Therefore, the sound that comes from each instrument is a product of the thought that drives it. Then, of course, thought invokes emotions, which you project through your energy, your body language, your words, your actions. And emotions are also a part of each instrument in your orchestra. Emotions derive their energy from your thoughts. And emotions too can be creative or destructive, unifying or disruptive. So when it comes to the instruments of your orchestra, they are in essence your thoughts and emotions leading to words and actions that emerge from them. That's what the instruments are. So I said to Luminous, I said that was a great way to articulate thought as the definer of each instrument. I asked him, so who then are the musicians? Because they are the ones that play the instruments. Luminous replied, the musicians are the elements of your character. The musicians are the elements of your character. And your character engages your mind at all its three levels. As we all know, we have the lower level mind, where we give birth to basic thoughts that enable us to survive and live in this material world, such as, I'm hungry. So the thought, lower level mind says, go open the fridge, have a meal, you eat, and you are able to sustain yourself. So the lower level mind provides those basic sustaining thoughts. Then there is the higher level mind, where you make more complex decisions, where you engage a whole multitude of scenarios, experience, wisdom, all of that, like where should we live, where should we invest, where should our children go to school, all the bigger decisions in life. That comes from the higher level mind with a wider variety of higher thought. And the third level is the intellect, which is the border between the material mind and our ever-intelligent life force or life energy. And the intellect irradiates the highest level of thought and inspiration. So Luminous says that your thoughts, your character engages all these three levels of your mind and higher. And he said, as we discussed earlier, your thoughts are living seeds. So what shapes each seed before it gets emitted? He says, what shapes each seed before it gets emitted? It is your character. Those are your musicians. They shape each seed of thought. It is your character which engages the elements of your mind. So I said, can you give us examples of characters and elements, because there's so much to it? Sure, Luminous replied. He says, character is a complex combination of thoughts and their nature, which shape your mind by becoming elements of it. So I thought, character is a complex combination of thoughts and their nature, which shape your mind by becoming elements of it. I said to Luminous, this is a bit complicated, man. Can you simplify it for us? Luminous laughed and said, okay, think of a sculptor creating the statue of a man. I said, okay. He said he projects the character of the man in his works. He expresses this character masterfully by carving out different features on the body of this man, like the nose, like the cheeks, its dimples, the lips and its smiling expression, the wrinkles on his forehead, the shape of his eyes, waist, legs, etc., etc. All these features are elements of the statue. And the character is in essence the entire statue of the man with all his elements. So he says, do you see how elements make up the character? Yes, I replied, it's easier when you think of character as the whole statue and its features as its elements. So when I remember the man, when you remember seeing someone or you remember seeing a statue, you remember the entire being, the entire statue. So that is the character that conveys itself to you. But as you look closer, you will see the eyes, the nose, the hands, the smile, the dimples, all that, the wrinkles, you will see all of that. So Luminous continued, he said, now let us look at some examples of elements of character. Kindness. He said, minds that have developed kindness will shape its seeds of thought in a manner that are kind and hence positive. So kindness is one of your musicians. Now each element of character has a contrast and has opposite too, he says. So when kindness is weak in your character, your thoughts will express cruelty, for example. And the seeds of thought that emerge from cruelty are negative. So these elements are what shape the thought, the seeds. He said generosity is another element of character, and its opposite is being miserly. Now I remember thinking about generosity in 1987. I first visited Kashmir, and I was staying with our hosts, and our son was only 4 years old. And every time I traveled, and I used to travel a lot then as I do now, and he would always put something in my suitcase. So this time he had put from Canada these sesame biscuits, sesame seed biscuits in my case. And as I was unpacking, I came across it. And I thought, oh, I looked around me and I saw kids playing outside. So I called one of the kids and said, here, have these biscuits. Now, there were 3 of them, small packet. He whistles. And next thing, all the kids get together, lots of them. And they all take a small nibble of that biscuit. And I was shocked. Because where I came from, if you gave the kid a sesame biscuit, he'd go and hide and finish it all. This kid called everybody, and they all were satisfied with that one nibble. That's generosity. And thoughts shaped from generosity germinate to create events and experiences that are positive in nature. And I saw generosity firsthand. I saw consideration firsthand before my eyes. These kids were 5 years old. They were young, so they were still in their formative stage. But the character was there of generosity. And such positive energy and thoughts that shape seeds of generosity, they fuel abundance. Because all these kids got to taste that biscuit. That's abundance, absolute abundance. It's not the quantity. They all tasted it. Conversely, miserly characters emit thoughts that do the opposite. And the element of generosity and being miserly is also developing and evolving within itself. It's never fixed. Your elements are always evolving. Like experiencing those children in Kashmir caused my generosity to evolve because it opened my eyes, it inspired me, so it made me evolve. We are all evolving that way in our elements. At some stage, your character is neither generous nor kind. However, it keeps evolving and shaping with experience until it grows upwards towards the positive state or spirals downwards towards the negative state. And Luminous says you must all recognize that elements of your character are constantly evolving every moment. Just like the features on your body are constantly evolving with age and health. Luminous laughed. He said, some of you try to hide it with Botox and plastic surgery, but you are constantly evolving. That's what you are. And your elements are evolving. Make them evolve in the right direction. And he said, on a serious note, these evolving elements of your character are very powerful gift that each one of you possesses, through which you can create harmony and eliminate conflict. That is the path to zero conflict, is working with your elements. He said being considerate is another element of character. It is another one of your musicians, and its contrast is neglect. Confidence is another example that comes within a contrast of fearfulness. Greed is another musician in your orchestra, and its contrast is the blend of generosity and being considerate. Now this is interesting, because here 3 musicians are working together, shaping your thoughts. Greed, generosity, and consideration. 3 musicians are working together. Therefore, the elements of your character can work in unison with one another. And the positive or the stronger ones can cause the weaker ones to evolve in a positive direction. Zero conflict can be approached this way, by working with a combination of the elements of your character, constantly making them more and more work together to produce thoughts and emotions, words and actions that create positivity, knowledge, and light. And the advantage of the musicians working together is that they help overcome the weakness of each other's elements. They help overcome the weaknesses of each other's elements. Collectively, they lift each other up to the more positive states and make them produce thoughts that are more harmonious in nature. So Luminous continued, he said, elements of character can work together singularly, like kindness and cruelty, or collectively, like greed, generosity, and consideration. The opportunity here lies in fostering your musicians to form a positive and illuminating overall character. And this is a less daunting path towards zero conflict, Cyrus said. Cyrus said, remember, the singular and collective powers of your elements are the keys to shaping your character to levels that you could not have imagined before. You have them, use them, work with them. He says in life you can work hard or smart or do both. And I added, and how we practically do this is going to be the focus of a separate masterclass on stage 8. It deserves an entire class on how we approach zero conflict, how we work with the elements of our character, our thoughts. We'll do an entire class. And I commented, this brings us to the next question. Who is the audience? Cyrus replied, the audience are beings in your life, not just this life, but throughout your entire soul's journey thus far. Every being you have encountered is part of your audience here today. From those closest to you, down to your acquaintances, and even those you may only have encountered only once, they are all here in your audience. Therefore in life, he said, take each being you encounter seriously. They have come to your path for a reason. Don't ignore them or walk past them obliviously. Recognize them, engage with them, and receive the gift of experience that they bring. In today's material world, he said, your smartphones are a real challenge because that is what most of you see all the time. He said, I have news for you. Your smartphones won't join you here in this theater. So remember, engage as a real person with real people. Virtual encounters are very temporary. Coming back to the audience, he said the audience can directly influence the music played by your orchestra because they react to the music the orchestra is putting out. Therefore, how your musicians and instruments perform will draw a corresponding reaction from the audience. It's a two-way street. And Luminous continued, some in the audience will give you a very hard time and make you miserable, triggering thoughts of negativity in you. But don't let that affect your music or your stature. Take on board their lessons and make your orchestra better and better. He said a goldsmith throws gold in the fire and then takes it out and then hits it again, throws it in the fire, takes it out, hits it again, and makes it shine brighter and brighter. So he says some of the people in your audience are here to help you achieve perfection. They are gifts, not curses. Some teach you amazing lessons with love and gentleness. So your audience is a mixture and you have to look at them as enablers and facilitators that help you make your orchestra play better and better. Enablers and facilitators. They help you gain more and more harmony every moment. And their contribution is very important to achieving zero conflict. That audience is very important. Cyrus added, while the audience can be your enablers and facilitators, you also have to develop inner strength and the power of detachment to reach zero conflict. It's not just the audience. You too have to develop that inner strength and the power of detachment. He said attachments create conflict. They disrupt harmony. Detachment brings freedom from conflict. Now, people in history have sometimes misunderstood detachment and learned the hard way. Even the great Buddha. He had learned that if you leave life and go away in the forest, you will find enlightenment. And so he left his palace, he left everything, and off he goes to the forest, and with a bunch of misguided people that followed him. And they wandered for years, never found enlightenment. And then one day he is looking at the water, in a pool of water, and he sees his reflection. And he realizes, he says, this reflection is the illusion, it is the world that I have come from. And I have actually run away from that which could actually provide me enlightenment. So he realized that detachment didn't mean running away from life, it meant going right into the midst of all the chaos that this world brings our way. And this is how true freedom from conflict can be achieved. So he returned, he lived in the world, he mastered detachment, and that's how he gained enlightenment. So coming back to the audience and your orchestra, Cyrus says you have to choose wisely where you allow your audience to be seated. What do I mean by that? He said those closest to you are in fact sitting in the front row seats near the stage. If they boo you or criticize you or encourage you, you will hear them the loudest. The people of the front row seats, you will hear them the loudest. So be conscious and smart about the people you allow to occupy your front row seats. Some of them are there because of biological connections to you. But that should not be your criterion for the front row seats. As you go further away from the stage, the audience has lesser and lesser direct influence on you. But nonetheless, they do have a role to play. And at the 8th stage, where you seek to achieve total harmony, you have to detach yourself mentally, emotionally, and even physically, if necessary, from people that ruin your music, despite your exhaustive efforts to work with them. You can do that lovingly by moving them further back in the theater and bringing forward those that facilitate your journey towards zero conflict. So you have to manage your audience. He said you must seek as best as you can to surround yourself with those that facilitate your journey and draw lessons with a healthy approach from those that may appear to drag you down. And he said wisdom comes from recognizing this difference. As Luminous said earlier, some of those people who bring you hardship are your teachers, while others are red herrings that derail you from your journey. So part of your learning and evolution at stage 8 is to know the difference. And you will get it wrong from time to time. It's perfectly okay. The good news is that when you choose to venture higher from paradise to stage 8, your karma of union gets initiated, replacing all your karma thus far. This karma of union will help you immensely in this process by shuffling the people you will encounter, the events you will experience, the lessons you will learn. Your relationships and people in your life will change in ways you had never imagined, all for the better. And the karma of union will offer you what it takes to facilitate your goal of zero conflict. So work with your karma of union. So I thanked Cyrus and Luminous for their wisdom. And my dear friends, we will take a closer look at karma of union in subsequent parts of stage 8 master classes. So it may be a good time for us to conclude here today and quickly recap what we have learned. Stage 8 is the stage of the orchestra with a number of key symbolisms that offer us ways forward in our individual spiritual journeys. The symbols of this level are the stage or platform on which the orchestra performs, and the stage is your foundation of knowledge, all the knowledge and light that you will derive throughout your journey. So do not miss a single opportunity to gain knowledge. Be open to new experiences. Have no fear. Experience all you can. This is your opportunity. And you will realize also how important it is that we learn to grow from light upon light. Every bit of your knowledge becomes your stage, your foundation. Remember, when you get to stage 8, every single one of your experiences from stages 1 to 7 will be there, present with you on the stage on which your orchestra will play. Next is the instruments of the orchestra. They are your thoughts and emotions which drive your words and actions, which in turn create events and experiences in your life. Experiences create knowledge and light. Your experiences have to come from conscious awareness and focus. So as a performer in the orchestra, remember what Cyrus said, you have to know the sound of every single instrument, whilst at the same time engaging with the audience and following the script of the music and the motions of the conductor. To do this, you have to be fully attentive and focused upon everything before you. Therefore, avoid being self-centered. You are not the most important part of the picture in your journey. Step out of your self-center and take the beautiful lessons and knowledge that surrounds you. Listen to what others have to say, observe what they have to show, learn from them. Observe nature and hear its voice and embrace all its colors and let it enrich you. The less self-centered you are, the happier and more enriched you will be. You will become richer in knowledge and light. Next, we learned about the musicians playing the instruments. They are elements of your character. And we discussed examples of elements such as kindness, cruelty, generosity and being miserly, consideration and neglect, confidence and fear, and greed, which engages multiple elements of generosity and consideration. We will go deeper in our next set of classes on stage 8 on how best to work with our elements singularly and collectively in order to approach zero conflict. So today we have learned the importance of taking a closer look at our own character and its elements and being consciously aware of them. They are essential tools of our journey. And thus far, we may have been aware of them at the back of our minds. We need to bring them forward to the front of our minds. How can we use our most powerful tools without knowing them closely? And then finally, there is the audience. Every being you have ever encountered is part of your audience in the theater, from those closest to you down to simple acquaintances, even those whom you may only have met once. So take each being you encounter seriously. They've come to your path for a reason. Don't just ignore them and walk away obliviously. Your audience includes people in your life who are your teachers, enablers, and facilitators in your pursuit for complete harmony and zero conflict. Next, we learned the importance of practicing healthy detachment. It is an essential part of overcoming a lot of conflict in our lives that bog us down in our journey. Through detachment, we can surround ourselves with enablers and facilitators and move away from those that derail us on our path. Detachment cuts cords of thoughts and emotions that are our sources of conflict and disharmony. Therefore, place your audience correctly in your theater, such that you always have close access to your facilitators and enablers. This is as far as we've gotten today. In subsequent master classes on stage 8, we will cover the script of the music, which is followed by the musicians, the music itself, and finally the conductor. We will also cover another core aspect of stage 8, which is the river merging into the ocean. And we will consider the symbols of water, the essence of life, the river that has come this far, what has it attained along its journey? It's reached the ocean but not merged into it. What has the soul attained thus far? And then there is the infinite ocean, the source of the droplet and the river. What does the soul experience once it knows the ocean? What does it encounter as it merges into the ocean? How does its journey unfold? Because there are barriers that separate the river from the ocean. So we will look into what are these barriers? What does it take for us to overcome these barriers? How can we help our soul cross these barriers? So there are some very deep and mystical aspects associated with the merging of the river into the ocean. That will be a separate class in itself. But I hope you, in these first 4 symbols, you have gained an appreciation of the power of stage 8, and you also gained an appreciation of the powers that reside within you, which it's now time to unlock them. Our character, our elements, they're not just there to be in the background to talk about. We have to engage them. So I'd like to thank you all very much for being here today, and I pray that the light of our Creator always be with you to help you, guide you, protect you, and love you always. Stay blessed, and God willing, we will try and have the next masterclass next Saturday. Stay blessed.